This is the Classic Auto Mall Show. Broadcast from the studios inside the Classic Auto Mall in Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Just 1 hour west of Philadelphia at Pennsylvania Turnpike exit 298. Featuring nearly 1,000 classic, vintage, and barn-find vehicles for sale under one climate-controlled roof. Now, here's your host, Classic Auto Mall president and the man with all the toys, Stewart Howden.
And welcome, show number 144 we're doing. That's hard to believe. We don't have a guest today, so we're just going to wing it.
We don't have an engineer either.
We don't have an engineer or a guest or a signal on the TV, and I can't see myself. And if I can't see myself, then how in the heck can anybody else see me?
All right.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to get you.
I'm just messing with you a little bit. So it's fun to watch you guys scramble a little bit. And we bought new cameras, so bear with us, folks. We may have a few technical difficulties as the day or as the show progresses. But like I said, show number 144. We have been so blessed with some of the guests that we've had lately. I mean, it has been amazing. We have gotten some really great people and some really great ones in the future in the pipeline.
Yeah,
coming.
It's all good.
Yeah. So, and you know, our friend Judy Stropus knows everybody in the business. There's, you know, the 7 degrees of separation of Kevin Bacon is the 1 degree separation of Judy Stropus.
Who was our guest about 3 weeks ago.
About 3 weeks ago, yeah. And she knows everybody.
She does.
I mean, there's no, you just sit with her and then you can meet anybody. I don't care who it is, they're there. So, thanks to the Pat Travers Band for our theme song, and you know, thanks. They're out on tour, and why is the traffic slow on the turnpike? What happened? Did we?
I don't know.
I need to know these things. I can't be distracted by. See, if you don't know, our studio looks right out the glass windows of our main entrance, which our main entrance faces the Pennsylvania 176 Turnpike. So we can see all kinds of activity happening out there, and we never know what to do. So, how about catching us on our radio stations too? We're on the Beasley Media Group, WWDB Talk 860 AM, and then simulcast on 97.5 HD2.
Yes,
HD2. Still don't know what that means.
Well, I think some cars automatically switch to it. If you have an HD radio in your car, mine doesn't. I have a 2013 Mini Cooper and it says HD when I'm on AM radio.
Huh. So on AM?
On AM.
Yeah, I didn't know that there was such a thing as HD. Nor do I care.
But thank you for joining us from Philadelphia. If you're listening to us on Saturday morning.
Yes. Or on America's Web Radio. We're on that as well too on Saturday morning at is it 10 a.m.?
10 a.m. on Saturday.
Yeah. So that's the first time you can hear us kind of in the online format, right?
Right.
What time do we come on in Philly, though? At
7 a.m.
7 a.m.
And you can hear it by going to www.dbam.com, I think, and you can actually push play. And
gotcha. So you could hear it.
You can hear it on your computer.
Right, and that's Talk 860 is 860. On the dial, right?
Yep.
All right. I was saying thanks to the Pat Travers Band. We really appreciate them letting us use their music. And of course Bruce Pilato, their manager, is the one who set it all up, and they're out on tour right now somewhere. We're going to go see them one of these days. I want to go see John White up in where's he going to be? Jim Thorpe.
Oh, okay.
I've never been there.
Yeah,
it sounds like an interesting place to go.
Jim Thorpe's an awesome place.
Is it?
Yeah, it really is. Like a cool little mountain town, and lots of history and old theaters and great restaurants. Yeah,
not far from here either. So.
That's right.
And last weekend we were in Greenwich. At the Concours d'Elegance,
right.
And then the Concours de Sport, which is kind of not a made-up category in the Concours world, but I guess it kind of is.
Do they do that every year? Because I don't remember the year we went.
The past couple of years they've done it where on Saturday they have a completely separate event from Sunday. So what happens is on Saturday it's the Concours de Sport, and it mostly celebrates race cars, but it's also customs and stuff that might not fit into a category of a true Concours d'Elegance, which is mostly Duesenbergs and Packards and V16 Cadillacs and high-end supercars and the real expensive stuff. This is stuff that might not be quite as pricey and quite as collectible maybe, but it's an important part of the hobby because let's face it, the people that like Duesenbergs aren't getting younger. But although a Duesenberg seems to transcend generations, and people really appreciate those because they were big sports cars.
Yeah.
You know, they would go. They had exhaust cutouts on these things, and these were, you know, Duesenberg was 20 grand back when the Ford was 400. Not 400 grand, $400.
Yeah, no, it's a big deal.
Yeah, huge difference. So, you know what I didn't find out?
What?
How many cars we have in inventory right now.
Oh, okay.
I think it was 931.
All right.
I'm going to go with that. And
close enough.
I think it's close enough. And where did we sell cars to this past week?
Yes, good question.
Oh, that's a heck of a good question. How about McCleary, Washington, Hopewell, New Jersey, Hamburg, Pennsylvania, Bay Minette, Alabama, never heard of it, Quincy, Illinois, Jackson, Ohio, North Java, New York, Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Why can't you say Baton Rouge without saying it?
Baton Rouge.
Baton Rouge. Canton, Pennsylvania, Pennsville, New Jersey, Stewartstown, Pennsylvania, Wernersville, Pennsylvania, Street, Maryland, Burnville, Pennsylvania, Media, Pennsylvania, and Westchester, Pennsylvania. Gosh, 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8 to Pennsylvania.
Yeah, we get some sales in Pennsylvania.
We do. It's funny, we sell cars all over the world, but a lot of times a guy will be a mile from here, and we'll see it. And it's funny because when you talk to people who consign their cars with us, they say, you know, I don't know how, I can't reach those people. I don't know how to get to the people that you get to, and that's why they bring it to us. And then you find that your neighbor buys it because your neighbor didn't know it was for sale. And it's awkward. You don't want to always sell your car directly to your neighbor. And I mean that not because there's a problem with it, just because it can be awkward. If something goes wrong with the car in a couple of months, is the neighbor going to look at you like, well, thanks for, you know what, appreciate that, pal.
Well, I think in some ways a lot of the consigners here don't want to see their car nearby.
Right,
You know?
and don't want to see it leave.
Right.
When you drop it off here, it's just saying so long.
Yeah.
It's not goodbye.
Yeah.
Goodbye is when it's paid for by another party,
right.
and the title changes hands, and away it goes.
If I sold one of my cars, I don't want to see it at a car show.
Right.
Under somebody else's ownership.
People ask that a lot. They go, "Where did the car go?" And you, and you say, just out of curiosity, why do you want to know? I don't want to see it anymore. I'd prefer not to see it.
Exactly.
I want it to be gone.
Sure.
There's gone, and then there's gone. Gone means it's no longer with you. Gone means you're never going to see it again. It's like going to the store or the store. We talked about this last week.
Absolutely.
So I have a tendency.
And the week before.
To repeat myself. You know, maybe you could be my memory stick.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah, because I'm so good at memory.
Well, it sounds like you are. You said it 2 weeks in a row.
Yeah.
Right? So, new arrivals this week. I say this week. That's incorrect. There are new arrivals, not necessarily that just came in this week.
This is just the ones you're talking about this week.
Yeah, but I do go in order of this. But these have probably been here for a couple of maybe 3 weeks, some of these.
Yeah.
How about the 1971 Chevrolet Corvette Coupe, black over saddle? And you don't see a lot from that era in black, for whatever reason. There was a year,
that's right.
I think was it 68 that they didn't make a black Corvette?
It was somewhere
late 60s.
We have whatever. This may be 71,
right?
Because it's in one of the write-ups where the owner painted it black,
right,
when it wasn't available. So this might be it.
This one's got the numbers matching LS5 454 cubic inch V8, which is a beast of a motor. Numbers matching Muncie M20 manual transmission. Brand new suspension, T-tops, rebuilt headlight assemblies, and you think, well, that's an odd thing to talk about. Go get one rebuilt. Don't tell me it's an odd thing to talk about. Trust me.
Find a Corvette where they both work.
Yeah, at the same time.
Right.
Yeah, they tend to have a little lazy eye issue.
That's right. Little issue. So
little issues from time to time.
That's a major plus to have them rebuilt.
Absolutely, and new weather stripping is another bullet point that we put. That's important because 2 reasons. Number one, weather stripping is not cheap to do, and it's not easy to do. To get it right.
Yes.
And how many times have we bought weather stripping and put it on a car only to realize that you can't get the window to close, or the door doesn't close properly, or it was a little, it wasn't quite to spec like it should have been. And that happens a lot. So one of the things to watch out for, and you can thank us, via check or credit card or whatever.
It's just amazing that there's all these aftermarket companies that will make it to your car.
Right.
You want to need it for a 71 Corvette.
Yeah.
Somebody makes it.
We'll make it. And are they making them to order? Are they bespoke? Are they making them to order?
That's a good
or
question.
are they?
No, I think they got stockpiles of them.
I mean, how much weather stripping for a 71 Corvette do you sell in a year?
OPD.
Yeah, but I mean, think about it. How much do you sell in a year?
Right.
10, 100?
And sitting on the shelf, are they disintegrating, or how do you?
Because rubber is,
it has a lifespan.
It has a lifespan, and So you wonder how many 71 Chevrolet Corvette coupes weather stripping kits get sold in a year?
Yeah.
Would it be 1,000? No.
No, couldn't be.
Couldn't be. It'd be 100, right?
Yeah.
At the most.
Right. So are they
But
made
this is
to
all
order?
speculation, right?
Are they made to order? Is what you're asking?
That's what I want to know. I mean, I guess if you have a 3D printer, you can print those things. Although I still don't understand how any of that works.
I don't think rubber is in that realm.
You don't think so? Huh?
Not yet.
I think that I'd like to know the answer to this. So if anybody knows, podcast at classicautomall.com. Although we should change the name of the email address because we don't really refer to ourselves as we are a podcast and a radio show and a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
And our YouTube channel is going crazy.
Yeah, YouTube's doing great. So check out the Classic Auto Mall YouTube channel, and of course,
subscribe,
like,
and that old talk tick.
Yeah.
I did that on purpose.
Tic-tac, doing well.
Doing well.
Well, we strike lightning every 2 years. So
what do we have? How many views on the 1987 Oldsmobile Cutlass?
We have 780,000 currently views on that. About 1,000 comments and a bunch of likes. Yeah, I mean low mileage Oldsmobiles from the late 70s to the early 80s or late 80s. That era, just incredible. But everybody had one. There was millions of them.
I know, but they resonate more so. If you put a Chevrolet Caprice of the same era or a Monte Carlo one, you would get crickets compared to what you get for an Oldsmobile. What is it that resonates with Oldsmobile?
I don't know.
No. I want you to know. What is it? Do we know?
I just think they were so ubiquitous. They were everywhere. Everyone had one.
But
they were cheap.
So was a Monte Carlo. Right?
Yeah, but not as much as I think there were more Oldsmobiles. I think Oldsmobiles like king of the common driver, daily drivers back then.
Well, I think the people that were wealthy had Oldsmobiles instead of Cadillacs, and people who were middle class had Cadillacs. We always used to say that. But nonetheless, other inventory: 57 MGA Mark I Roadster, Orient Red over black, a beautiful little car.
Yep.
Recent frame-on restoration. 1489cc inline four with a 4-speed manual. It's well sorted, and it's got the tonneau cover and the side curtains. And the tonneau cover's nice to have if you're out on the road or something and you can get caught in a little inclement weather. It's a little easier to put on than some of the convertible tops. And then the side curtains are nice, again, when you catch a little inclement weather. It's not just spraying in on you through the side curtains. So, and not all the cars had those.
That's right.
I mean, some of them are lost. Some of them are in an attic somewhere, as we talk about, never to be found again. So, if you get a chance, check out that and the Corvette that we talked about on our website, classicautomall.com. And we've got a few more to talk about when we come back from our break. But the amount of consignments coming in has really started to exceed our expectations as far as quality, as far as price point. We're seeing just a different kind of caliber of car coming in. And listen, we never want to get away from the inexpensive cars. We always want to have the entry level.
A couple projects. There's been a couple projects in the last couple.
Any of that. I mean, we like having those, and that's important. So when we return, we'll talk a little bit about more new arrivals to the Classic Auto Mall. Catch us on the Classic Auto Mall, classicautomall.com for all our inventory and any other information you want to learn about us. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
The Classic Auto Mall has more than 1,000 vehicles for consignment in our huge 8-acre climate-controlled showroom. It's a real indoor mall. If you'd like to know all the advantages of buying and selling a car through consignment, the information is available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. It's easy, safe, convenient, and it doesn't matter where you are. We sell worldwide. See our huge selection of classic and collectible vehicles at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the Classic Auto Mall studios in Morgantown, Pennsylvania.
We are a 3-camera studio.
There's 4 in here today, but
there is.
We'll go to 3 when we send yours home. Are you going to charge me for wear and tear on that thing?
Oh,
get a bill for
no. I'll tell you what. Shout out to Sony because the thing is, I dropped that. You saw me drop that thing once, and
my heart sank for you.
It bounced, and that's all right. I mean, I think I'm insured for it with my umbrella policy.
Well, you better hope so.
I think so.
And they say, but not a Classic Auto Mall. Sorry, anywhere but there. We would be happy to.
Where's Morgantown?
Morgan, where? Yeah, I mean, it's like jewelry. If you lost a diamond out of your diamond ring, how do they prove that you really lost it?
We did. My wife lost her engagement ring on an airplane, and we filed a claim for it. Yeah. How do you prove it? You don't.
You don't. They just take your word.
I showed her. We sent them photographs of the empty ring.
But you could have just taken it out.
She was not happy. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. But she got a better stone
What?
to replace it.
I think that's pretty much a given. If you don't get your wife a better stone when she loses the one that you gave her originally, then you're
exactly. And it wasn't through insurance fraud. It was actually because we chipped in some money on top of what we.
Oh, I got you.
Yeah.
Well, and the other thing is that if you lose something, I mean, if you file a workman's comp claim, they'll come out and take video of you shoveling gravel in your driveway. They'll say, "Hey, we're denying this claim because you're out shoveling gravel.
Right.
You can't have a busted shoulder if you're shoveling." They are really. I mean. They crack down on that stuff.
Sure.
And yes, it would be difficult to prove a lost diamond, but if you ever, went to try to sell something that you put an insurance claim, or you never know. I mean, there's no visible markings. When we took a ring to have redone, or some earrings, they actually put it under the loop or whatever. I don't know why the hell I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
The loop, and they showed you the imperfections.
Sure.
So when you got it back, you could look and see that it had the same one. Because they could take it and place it with a genuine diamel. Or you could say, "Honey, I bought you a real diamond ring. We went to have this one serviced, and then they sent it back with a fake. Where's the real diamond?" And they're like, "No, we didn't change anything."
Well, how this relates to cars is, and we could do a whole show on insurance and how cars are so easily totaled now because of the expensive parts and things. God. Yeah, we've lost a few cars through that.
My son and daughter-in-law were rear-ended down in Atlanta in a car, just a little Hyundai Elantra or whatever they had, and the car was probably worth $9 or $10 grand, and they got rear-ended, but it didn't look totaled. It was totaled based on the value.
It's sad. I mean, there's a lot of cars that end up in Copart, and then get rebuilt and have that title to it. So.
And have that issue on the title.
Yep.
Well, check those titles, folks. If you're buying a used car, and check the Carfax.
But that goes to say, sometimes the frame's not bent. It's just like my wife rear-ended somebody in a Volvo, and the headlight assemblies were more valuable than the car itself. So they totaled it. So all that was really lost was the front bumper and the headlight assembly.
Yeah, isn't that amazing?
And so somebody could have repurchased that, and it's got a rebuilt title, but it wasn't really damaged.
No. I mean, if you're going to buy something, if you're okay with buying something with a rebuilt title or a bad Carfax, just buy it knowing that you're going to drive it forever until it just runs it into the ground.
Yeah, right.
Otherwise, then don't buy it because resale value gets hurt.
It does.
And we've talked about this many times on the show, and I keep preaching that when you're in an accident that's no fault of your own, make sure that they compensate you for the diminished value of the car, not just the repair bill. But like you said, the headlight assembly can be worth, what, $1,500, $2,000 for just the headlight assembly.
It can.
And then you throw in a front fascia, which you can just usually find down on the side of the road in Philly. Where you go, they're right there. There are plenty of them.
Absolutely, pick one out.
Repaint them. Usually from Mazdas. I'm not sure why that is.
We could do a show on junkyards.
Yes.
I love going to the junkyard. When I have my old Subaru and old Volvos, you go there and you get anything you need for cheap. It's good times.
And the guys, a good junkyard guy can tell you where everything is.
Oh, sure.
It's like the good parts guy at the O'Reilly's or the AutoZone or any of the, I'm not trying to promote any particular one. I'm just using them for reference points. But the guy who says, we've talked about this, the guy on the computer says, "No, we don't have that." And then the old salt goes, "Yeah, wait a minute, let me go back here in the back and check that." And then he comes back with a dusty old part that he blows off, and there it is. And so that's the cool thing about the guys in the junkyard. They go, "Oh, 77 Nova? Oh yeah, we got a bumper for that back there. It's got a little rust on the rear thing, but a little scuff on the..."
Or row 32, 6-car in, is the 77 Nova.
How do it know? I don't know.
It's great. I love pick-aparts, though. It's a lot of fun.
Other new arrival, how about the 76 Ford Mustang II coupe?
Sure, everybody's got to have one of those.
Polar white. Does that make it polarizing?
Polar white. I'm going to make sure you didn't cover this factoid, but Farrah Fawcett's Cobra II was polar white base, but then always had the blue stripes.
The blue stripes,
right? It was polar white as well, so you could actually create a clone if you want.
Yeah,
not a Farrah,
a clone of the car that she drove. Right? She was a babe, wasn't she?
She was great.
She was so hot. Mild 302 V8 in a C4 automatic, Magnum 500 wheels. I love Magnum 500 wheels. I think they're pretty cool.
They are.
And a new fuel tank. You say, well, okay, it's another one of those things. Is it that important? Take a fuel tank. Drain one. take it off, go take it down to whoever cleans them out or does whatever the thing that they do to them, or replace it. It's not as easy as it sounds.
Right.
Yeah.
How many 76 gas tanks are sold for 76 Mustang IIs, you know, so whoever's making those.
20 a year? Is there 20?
Maybe.
No, I think 20 is a push. How would you make any money on
Maybe
that
it
stuff?
shares its gas tank with a Pinto or something like
Or
that.
the Ghia.
Yeah.
Or the not the Ghia, but the...
Carmager?
No. There was a Mustang Ghia, but then wasn't there a Ghia, just a model Ford that was a Ghia, I thought?
Possibly. Podcast at classicautomobile.com for information, if you have it.
Please, if we could just get a crack team of researchers that work for us and...
Volunteer for you,
Yeah,
is what you meant to say.
or the one, yeah. Copped docents, if you will. Yeah. Doesn't that docent mean just free labor?
That's it.
Is that what that word means?
Yes, trained.
Other new arrival, how about the 1935 Ford Model 48 three-window deluxe coupe? It's cool. The 3 windows and the 5 windows are really cool from back in the day because they literally had 3 windows. There's 2 side windows and the 1 rear window was a 3-window coupe. 2 side windows, quarter windows, and a rear window was the 5-window coupe.
Right.
And they're more valuable than the 3-window. They're very desirable by the hot rod guys, especially if it's in a Ford or a Mercury guys as well too. That's pretty interesting car to have those. This one's Cordoba gray over tan, which you call it gray, but it doesn't look gray.
Right, that's what I was looking at it for. It's the kind of greenish gray.
Yeah,
right?
it's grayish, tannish.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
I don't know why they call it gray.
Right, it's more of a tan. Like you said. Yeah, exactly.
So 11,265 actual miles.
That's amazing.
Yeah, but I mean, you don't know. Is that titled that way, or is it? Did somebody make a mistake, or is it really that low miles? Because it's been restored.
Right.
Nicely done.
Beautiful. I love with the red accents, the red wheels.
Yeah, I
This
do
one-
too.
This one's got a pinstripe, I think, too. Yeah, beautiful car.
A 239 cubic inch flathead V8. It's a hard to find
A lot
model.
of frogs in here today.
What the heck? Excuse me. Where's that cough button? We can just edit both of those parts out right there. And a 3-speed manual transmission. I mean, how long, the Flathead Ford, we talked about last week, went into the 50s, but I mean, think about every Flathead Ford built in the 30s. How many of those are still around?
Right.
A lot of them. A lot of them are still
Built
out
to
there.
last.
And they did. If it ran when it parked on a Flathead, it usually will, with a little squirt of this and a touch of this and a knock of that, it'll get going again without much trouble. So, but an interesting car and really a striking car, this 35.
It is a
Ford
beautiful
Model
car,
A.
and I'm not
Model
a
48.
big, pre-war fan, but that's a nice one.
Other new arrival is the 67 Pontiac GTO convertible, Signet gold over black. 3 owners from new. It's got the PHS documentation, which tells you everything that came with the car when it was built new.
Right.
And it's got the correct YS code 400 cubic inch V8. The hood tack, which is so cool.
That is the best.
I love that. And especially because it's got the tack and the 2 hood scoops, right? So.
Yeah, it's got the little nose scoop.
Oh, yeah. The single scoop on that one.
Yep.
Yeah. And the hood tack is. They never really worked very well.
That's
back in the
apparently
day.
right. Or they got foggy or something.
They got foggy or something, but they were really cool. I guess they were mechanical, right? So there was just a cable that ran out there to it. And
I believe
just
so.
like a regular tack in the dash. But I'm sure they weren't hermetically sealed.
Right.
So this one's got the Turbo Hydromatic 400, and it comes with the Protecto plate, which is cool because the Protecto plate was a warranty plate that came in your new car warranty little packet. That you got from General Motors products, and it basically would tell you the architecture of the car, the motor, and all that.
Is it metal?
It's metal.
The metal, yeah.
But it was on a piece of paper,
Right.
glued onto the warranty booklet.
How cool.
And they're very cool, and they will tell you a lot more about the car than just the VIN number. A little bit more specific details on it when you look at that. And a beautiful car. That Signet Gold for a GTO is a great color.
Yeah, and I think if I remember right from the write-up, it was a pretty common color back then as well. Not super rare, but desirable.
A lot of cars were gold. And what we were noticing, and we'll get into this a little bit on the next segment, is how many green cars we saw in Greenwich.
Oh, really?
Greenwich, so maybe that. No. That was
Is that the first day that I missed, or the second day?
the second day.
Yeah, the Lotus was green. Well, we can get into it.
Yeah, we will get into that. And then other new arrival, 1960 Thunderbird convertible. This car is so cool looking, and they're really getting their due.
Yep.
They really are starting to come into their own, and especially this one in red. It's really striking. It's a very elegant looking car, and I used to not give them two shakes.
And nobody did, and Haggerty put them on the bull list last year, and they're coming up. So
Yeah,
it is a beautiful car.
And it's Monte Carlo red over red and white. And of course, they were trying to be very European with the Monte Carlo red.
Sure, whatever.
But I love all the names of colors back in the day. They were fantastic names. Like the GTO we talked about, Signet Gold.
Right.
Monte Carlo red. This one's got the 352 cubic inch V8. The Cruise-O-Matic automatic, power drum brakes. It's kind of unusual, isn't it?
Yeah.
Normally you see a power disc brake.
Yeah, I think the Thunderbirds were really ahead of their game, ahead of the curve on a lot of things.
They were fancier than they were given credit for back in the 60s, early 60s, and all the way up through the late 60s. I mean, you could get a Thunderbird with a 428 and then a 429 in like 68, 69. That was a bad boy.
Yeah.
Those cars would go.
Well, even the Baby Birds were fast, right?
Well, if you got the right one.
Right, the right one, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there was the D code, which was the 312. There was, the 29. One of them 290,
Yeah.
I think. One of them was a 290. Then the 312. Then the 312 dual quad. Then the 312 Fuelie.
Right.
Which fuel injected cars back in the day were, people didn't know how to deal with them. First of all, you don't pump the gas when you start it, and that confused anybody that had come from a carburetor world.
Yeah, exactly.
Just pumping the crap out of it,
Always,
trying to get it started.
always.
You pump the fuel injected car, and you'll never get it started because it'll be vapor locked or whatever. What is vapor lock anyway?
I don't know.
It's some kind of
It's
something.
a Ford thing.
Only Fords?
I don't know.
Boy, you're full of information today, aren't you?
The problem is it's overflowing, the information.
Too much
I take in
information.
information and it just leaves.
You
guess
think
so.
of all the useless things that you have in your brain, and I don't mean you particularly, I mean all of us. We all have useless information that's floating around in there that just rears its head for whatever reason. And of course it helps in this business to have a lot of useless information because it's not useless to the guy who's buying a car that you happen to know a lot about.
Right.
Although our guys know, and you know this, you're a car specialist is one of your titles around
Yes, it's
here, one of
different
the
hat.
3 titles, but it's good to know a lot about these different cars, but you can't know everything.
Right.
But we have guys who are experts on certain things, so you can defer to them if necessary. When we return, we'll talk a little bit about our trip last weekend to Greenwich, Connecticut. When we return with the Classic Auto Mall Show, we'll see you in a couple minutes.
Whether you want to buy or sell a classic, collectible, or special interest vehicle, you need to visit the Classic Auto Mall website for more information. If you're looking to buy, you can easily search our inventory of more than 1,000 vehicles on the web at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall Show from the Classic Auto Mall studio, Morgantown, Pennsylvania. Going through little technical difficulties as we normally do.
That's right. No engineer. We're flying.
We're flying by the seat of our pants here. We're just winging it. So both of us,
commando style. That's the word I was looking for.
Yeah, exactly. Both of us had the pleasure of attending the event in Greenwich last weekend. Today being Wednesday. What is
The
today?
6th.
June the 5th.
5th. Right.
Gosh, in 26 days, this year is halfway over.
Yeah,
That's
great.
scary.
It's crazy.
That is so scary. I can't even. I don't even know.
Let me just first say that Greenwich. It took you 2.5 hours from Morgantown. You left at 5:30.
5:30 in the morning on Saturday
That's
morning.
crazy.
Yeah.
We left from Philly on Sunday at 7:30, and it took 2 hours. So it's really not a bad ride if you're in the Philadelphia area. If you want to see a world class Concours.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, Pebble Beach is in a class all of its own, but this is really up there. I mean, this one is pretty amazing. The level of cars that they get is fantastic. The amount of cars and money that are in Greenwich, Connecticut, because all the high net worth individuals that work, not all of them, but a lot of them that work in New York City, the financial guys and things like that, all live in Greenwich because they take the train home.
It's like the Beverly Hills of the East Coast.
Yeah, just it keeps you out of the. I mean, you can imagine living in downtown, in New York City proper, or Manhattan, or any of that, but just be, I mean, noisy and just so many things that you'd have to get used to. Whereas you go to Greenwich, it's like being out in the country.
It is the country.
It is the country.
Right, and some people thrive on that energy in New York City, which is why there's millions of people there. But
Yeah,
I couldn't. You couldn't pay me enough to live there.
15 million people that live in New York City proper. I mean,
It's crazy.
That's pretty crazy. But Greenwich is a beautiful part of the world, and the weather was absolutely perfect.
Yes.
So I went up Saturday, and on Saturday they do an unusual thing at Greenwich Concours de Elegance. This is put on by Haggerty, by the way. They do not only the Concours de Elegance on Sunday, but on Saturday they do a separate event called the Concours de Sport. And it's in the same area as the Elegance, so it's a shift in the evening. All the cars that were in the one show leave, and all the Concours cars come in early Sunday morning, or maybe even late Saturday night, for all I know. Doesn't really matter. But the Concours de Sport is basically race cars and customs and things that weren't normally recognized in a Concours de Elegance. Yes, they've had little specialty classes for race cars in the past, but it wasn't a focus, if you will. And Greenwich decided to, when Haggerty took this over, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. I can't remember how long it's been. Well, probably not that long, maybe 3 years ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, nonetheless, they took it over, and then they added this element to it. And it's really cool because they had cars of De Tomaso, like the Pantera and some of the other really cool De Tomaso, the Longchamp, and a couple others. Did you see any of those, by the way?
No, I did not.
Oh, because they weren't there on Sunday.
Right. We had hoped that they would, but I heard there was only 8 Di Tommaso, so I didn't feel awful.
Yeah, but 8 in a row is 8 in a row, right? You know, I mean, it's
right,
pretty
but
cool.
the Ferrari made up for it.
Yeah,
We'll let you talk about it.
Yeah, the Ferrari is pretty amazing. But the Concours de Sport is a more relaxed environment maybe than a Concours de Elegance. I mean, the Elegance is, you know, you're talking about V16 Cadillacs, which actually won the Concours on Sunday, and you know, V12 Packards and really high-end supercars and just a really, you know, kind of the top of the top cars. Whereas the Concours de Sport on Saturday is it rewards originality maybe more so than the beauty of it. You know, the Elegance is almost more of a beauty contest in some respects.
Yeah. Not
completely. I mean, there are things that they want it to do, and they want to make sure that they ask them to start. They ask them to make sure that their headlights work and their turn signals work and all that. And that's important. It sounds odd that they would care whether the blinkers work on a $5 million Duesenberg, but I guess it's a way to prove the difference between a great one and a spectacular one of one.
Right.
Because if you look a row of 10 Duesenbergs at a Concours de Elegance, I mean, they all look perfect.
Yeah.
You're like, well, how do you choose? How do you
There's
know?
a row of Porsches.
That
man, they all look good to me. I don't know
the
how
Carreras and the GTs.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, when you look at Porsche 356s, you know, they've become quite valuable. But there's just the regular old 356 Porsches, and a lot of them are even replicas that you see, like the Cobra replicas.
Right.
But most of them were just kind of the low horsepower, fun to drive, but they weren't racing machines. But the Carreras of that era and the GTs of that era, they're super rare, they're super fast, and they're super desirable.
Yeah, and valuable.
And valuable. And the Grand Marshal of the Concours was an architect who collected Porsches.
Okay.
And it was interesting because they said, oh, we're going to have an architect as the Grand Marshal. I thought, well, that's weird. Why would you have an architect? Well, turns out he's got one of the finest Porsche, you know, speedster collections arguably in the world.
Wow.
And just spectacularly done. And he wore a pink seersucker suit on Sunday. And I thought, you know, if you got the cojones to wear that, that's impressive.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that I could pull off a pink seersucker.
Now I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, kind of a gray-haired guy.
Yeah,
He was hard to miss him when you
Right.
But so the interesting thing is they had customs at the Concours de Sport on Saturday, and the actual best in show on Saturday was won by a 1957 Chevrolet 210, which would surprise anybody in any kind of Concours type event.
Right.
Built by Sam Barris Kustoms, which was George Barris's brother, who kind of got out of the hobby, but built this car after he kind of retired from the hobby, moved a little further north in Los Angeles. And this thing, I mean, it was amazingly well done. And it was so period correct that makes it really cool. I mean, there was a freestanding TV in the back seat. It took 2 years to build back in the day.
Right.
And instead of body filler back then, when they customized these things and finished and fixed maybe rust spots or whatever when they were starting with whatever shell of a car they started with, they used lead. 630 pounds of lead in this car.
Is that right?
Yeah. So you could
add it as
you could get an X-ray and not, you know.
Now this car was in the parking lot on Sunday, so I did see it.
It's
white with purple trim.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah.
it was, you know, it's not my thing. I'm not my thing, but to appreciate what they did and how they did it is just, and then to restore it later on, like they did, because you got to realize this is a one-of-one customer. It's like repainting the Mona Lisa. Right. I mean, and I don't mean to. It's not
don't
the Mona,
equalize them.
Yeah, I'm not saying the Mona Lisa and the 57 210 El Capitola are the same thing, but it is a one-off custom, if you will. So to restore that, you better have lots of good notes and lots of good pictures from back in the era to see what it was and what it wasn't. But it was the best in show. To summarize what they were doing with the sport is it's usually reserved for vintage racers. The criteria has extended to all cars that epitomize automotive style, performance, and innovation. So it's a broad stroke of things that maybe weren't accepted, like the AACA. They don't allow in Hershey, you couldn't take a custom car there into the car corral or to anywhere for that matter, any of the events or anything. I think they're starting to add an area for that because like it or not, resto mods and customs and hot rods are not going anywhere.
That's right.
You know, as long as the hobby continues, they're going to continue to be not only relevant. I mean, not only there, but relevant
For sure.
And some of these hot rods, I mean, you can see there's some Brookfield steel-bodied hot rods that are really cool looking. And like I said, I'm not a hot rod guy, but I might have one of those. So, like I need anything else. But the thing about these customs is that you'll see, I think, in the next 15 or 20 years, they'll become more and more appreciated as an art form. And I know that there's a recognition by the federal government that Haggerty's put together on cars of significance that I can't remember the name of it. I'll have to look it up in between the break. But it's got the Shelby Daytona Cobra is one of the cars, and there's a lowrider in it as well.
Okay.
And it'll be interesting to see where the lowriders fit into this, because you know, back when I lived in Los Angeles in the early '80s, there was lots of lowriders, but it was like, you know, the biker gangs. You steered pretty clear of them.
Right.
And now you realize that, you know, they're just a lot of regular people.
Yeah.
You know, same with motorcycle riders. You know,
because listen, they invest time and money into those cars.
Oh my God.
This is not just a side hobby. This
No.
is a lifestyle.
And it's not cobbled together like we did, or not the precursors to us. The people who built cars in the 30s, when you didn't have any money, you had $50 to try to build a car, and you took whatever you could get. Headlights from a DeSoto, you know, a bumper off of this, a tail fender off of this, the motor out of an Oldsmobile. I mean, you know, it was cobbled together.
Absolutely.
If you looked up cobbled together in the dictionary, you would see some of these cars, especially like my partner who built a couple of little race car sprint type cars that were just whatever was available.
That's it.
You know, and you couldn't go out and just order stuff because A, you didn't have the money, and B, there was really nowhere to order it back then. I mean, you had to clip a coupon out of the back of a magazine and then fill it out and mail it in, and how many weeks did it take for it to get to wherever it was going, and then whatever they were sending you back, I mean, you know, it could be a month easily.
For sure.
Probably longer.
And so these handmade cars I mean, there's also a lot of time and energy into it, and I think the appreciation has gone up quite a bit in the car world.
And I like to see that, because I think we should be accepting to all types of people that are enthusiastic about a combustion engine vehicle.
Yeah.
You know, whether it's a motorcycle or an airplane or an automobile or a truck or even an El Camino.
Were there a lot of these customs at the first day on Saturday?
No, there was a few. Wayne Carini had something there, and I can't remember what it was.
He had his...
we had two wagons there.
His Cadillac wagon.
Yeah, the CTSV wagon, but then he also had Paul Newman's Volvo wagon with a 302 in it.
Right next to it, yeah.
380 horsepower.
Oh, see, I missed a great day. Everybody said, the word I heard the most about Saturday was fun.
Yeah, it was more fun. A little more relaxed, and it was packed.
Yeah.
There were so many people.
And the weather was great.
And the weather was perfect.
Yeah. Next year.
And I bought a hat, luckily, in the nick of time before I got completely sunburned.
Oh, good.
I lied to my wife.
Got a Haggerty hat, did you?
Yeah.
Or Greenwich.
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
But, you know, because otherwise I was going to have to lie. Do you have your hat on, honey? Yeah.
Definitely need
sunscreen?
No. Sunscreen and a hat for sure. I mean, there's shade there. There's big trees. By the way, don't plant pepper trees anywhere. They're all over the country and East Coast, and those are the ones that drop at this time of the year.
Oh yeah, and they're all over the cars.
They
were covered in those things. I didn't know what they were.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you can't keep them clean.
It's called a Brazilian pepper tree. We have them in Ambler, and cars were just getting inundated with that fluff.
Oh, you were at another car show on Saturday. You were a trader and didn't.
No.
Oh.
The week before was Ambler, but the trees
Gotcha.
do the same thing for about a month.
Right.
And it's just a mess.
Yeah, it's like pollen that you get on your car,
Yeah,
especially if you've
exactly.
got a black car and you're out at an event and it just covers your car. And what are you going to do? You keep
Right.
your California duster and just keep hitting it.
But it gave me peace of mind because these Porsche guys weren't up in arms about this stuff dropping and really covering the interior of their cars. And if they're not upset, then maybe I shouldn't worry about my $10,000 Typhoon.
And the judges didn't look at it disparagingly. They didn't say, "Oh, well, we're going to knock off some points for this because
Right.
you've got, what do you call that? Pepper?
Yeah, it's a pepper tree, I think.
Is it grow
Brazilian
pepper? Is that
pepper.
where pepper comes from?
No. Just has little seeds that look like pepper, but it's a messy street tree, non-native to eastern Pennsylvania, whatever. But
How'd it get here?
well, people bring it as an ornamental tree,
People.
and it's everywhere. It's a good street tree.
People.
Yeah, and it's not. They weren't thinking about car shows when they planted it.
Why not?
Obviously, but my point was that in Greenwich there's a lot of shade. It's a very nice. It's a very nice place, and you're not always out in the sun, but definitely prepare for sun.
And that's the thing that I would recommend to any Concours or any outdoor events. Have some shaded areas.
Mm-hmm.
Get a tent that doesn't have any purpose other than to let people to get out of the sun a little bit. The way the sun is nowadays, I mean, we were in Boca down in Florida a couple of years ago at a car show, and we had to finally leave. It was just so miserably hot.
Yeah.
And there was nowhere to get out of the sun. There was no shade, no nothing. So when we return, we'll continue our conversation about Greenwich and some other interesting automotive stuff. We'll see you in a couple minutes.
Buying and selling via consignment is safe, easy, and secure. We advertise, sell, and ship worldwide. And if you'd like to know all the advantages of selling your car through consignment, the information's available on our website, or you can talk to a classic car specialist who can answer all your questions. Plus, you can easily search our inventory online at classicautomall.com.
And we're back with the Classic Auto Mall show from the
Saskatchewan
show. Have I been drinking?
No, not that. Coca-Cola.
Coca-Cola. The drink of champions. Coca-Cola, if you're paying. Well, no wonder they're not sponsoring us. There we go. See? And it's got the Marvel, the original taste. It's got whoever DD is.
I have no idea.
I don't know anything
That's
about that stuff.
young people.
My son gives me grief on all the movies I've never seen. Like I've never seen any of the
really?
Star Wars.
Okay,
Never.
so you're with me.
Yeah, I've never seen any of the Lord of the Rings.
Okay.
The 3000 thing. Maybe
300?
I don't know.
You never saw 300?
No.
You would love 300.
That's what everybody says about
It's one
all
of my
these
favorite movies. Man.
Really?
It's awesome, yeah.
That's the one from medieval times or whatever.
Roman.
Yeah, that's what
That whole thing.
Yeah.
Gladiators.
Gladiators.
You would. I'm telling you would like that movie.
All right. Well, Garrett keeps threatening that I've got to watch this and I got to watch that.
Yeah.
I say I don't have to watch anything. So, continuing on with Greenwich, the car show that you see people driving by outside of the event is almost as good as the car show inside. You see cars it's crazy, some of the Ferraris and Porsches that you see come driving by, and in the parking lot, I mean, there's a whole car show there.
Absolutely.
And that's true in a lot of these events that you go to. You go to Radnor Hunt, which is coming up in September, and a lot of the cars in the parking lot are just as cool as the cars on the show field.
I love it. I did a whole video probably 10 years ago, just walking through the parking lot.
Yeah.
It was so cool.
Pretty amazing the level of cars that are in any area that you happen to go to that you very rarely see unless you're at an event like this where people are driving. Well, it's like the Ferrari meet a couple of weeks ago at Ronham
Yep.
Country Club. That's right. The cars were amazing, and then the cars in the parking lot were even more. I mean, they were amazing too. It's like, well, you should just come on in here.
Yeah, and of course Greenwich is, like we said, it's a high-end community, as they say.
A lot of money in that part of the
money.
world. And Ubers are not cheap.
Is that right?
They are not. I always Uber I go during the day on Saturday, and then I go back to the hotel and get changed, and then I Uber to there so I can have a couple of glasses of wine.
I got you. Oh, I got you. Right.
And it's like $47. It's like 5 miles or something.
Yeah, the hotels are a little more expensive at that time.
They're a little pricey.
That weekend as well.
They figured that out.
They figured it out.
Yeah, let's charge more when there's more desire.
Absolutely.
For people to come to the place.
Yep.
So. And you end up staying in like Stamford.
Which is half hour.
No.
10 minutes.
10 minutes.
Yeah.
Well, it's 10 minutes if you know how to go.
Right.
It's not 10 minutes with the traffic on 95 that runs through there. It's a nightmare. I tell you, and when you leave there, you're gonna hit traffic.
As pretty as Connecticut is, it's like Marin County. It's
Yeah.
just wall-to-wall cars, traffic. It's nuts.
I don't understand it either. It's like, even in odd times when you wouldn't expect it to be busy, it's busy. But
Right.
Sunday was the proper Concours de Elegance at Greenwich, and there were some spectacular cars. V16 Cadillacs. Actually, one of the winners was the 1931 Cadillac 452A all-weather Phaeton V16 Behemoth.
All-weather Phaeton.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The motor is
Really?
just
I didn't walk down that, believe it or not, to that.
There's only 7 aisles. I mean, you're there all day.
They were kind of past the cafe or whatever it was.
No, they were. That was the Rolls Royces and Bentley. So you must have missed them too.
Yeah, I did.
You're looking more.
We were home by 3, so. But I'm pretty sure we saw everything.
I'm pretty sure you didn't. I asked you if you saw the Madam X V16 Cadillac that was in green.
Yeah.
You didn't.
Did not. Or I didn't. I just didn't register with me.
You know, the V16 all-weather or the V16 Cadillacs came out just right when like months before the stock market crashed. So they struggled to sell those things back then, and priced back in 1930, 31 was anywhere from about $5,300 to $9,200.
Wow.
When a Model A Ford was $435.
That's quite a jump.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess if you looked at it in today's perspective, it wouldn't be much different than a Toyota Corolla new price versus a Pagani or a,
Sure.
a high-end Ferrari. I mean, gosh,
Yeah, McLaren.
a McLaren Rolls. I'm parked next to a Cullinan Rolls, which is the SUV,
Yep.
which are like $500,000.
Yeah, 300 to 500,000.
Yeah, depending on options.
Yeah.
But back in the day, if you looked at the option to get the highest horsepower engine of a muscle car, for example, let's say a Camaro was $2,300, but if you wanted the aluminum LS6,
$50.
it was another $1,000 on a $2,300 car. I mean, that's almost half. It's like looking at a Camaro nowadays. It's $50,000. You go for $25,000 more.
Yeah.
You can get this engine, but if you want to buy something from the collectible standpoint, always buy the most exclusive, the rarest, and the highest horsepower, biggest engine. 3 pedals if possible, if they make them anymore. Is there any cars that we talked about this? There's
Real
not
sticks?
Real sticks. There's not
I
many.
have to research that.
Well, good on that. I'm going to make a note.
Yeah, make a note of that.
You're supposed to be researching these things, and I just forget about it. And,
Well, I get my notes 2 minutes.
Joe Rogan's got all kinds of researchers.
Yeah, I'm sure he does. We'll get there.
I was watching him and Neil deGrasse Tyson the other day.
Yeah.
Well, talk about who can talk more.
Right.
Rogan's over there, just can't get a word in.
Yeah, no.
Tyson. Tyson's brilliant. I mean, he's brilliant, smart, but he'll let you know how brilliant, smart he is.
He likes to talk, that's for sure.
He does, and so do I. So maybe I should just shut up about talking about other people that like to talk.
Yeah.
Anyway, a large time was had at Greenwich.
Yeah.
And it's always a fun event to go to, and the people are fantastic, and they put on a great show, and they had a beautiful spread in the hospitality tent area. Met a bunch of really cool people, car people, talked to a lot of people. It's funny. A friend of mine was introducing me to some person, and the person and my friend said, "Oh, do you know Stewart from?" Oh, well, no, hi, this is Billy Bob, and we started talking, and he goes, "Yeah, Stewart has classic auto mall." "Oh, yeah, I have a car there." The lady says.
Oh, wow.
Well, la di da.
That's awesome. You never know who you're going to meet. Well, we're kind of ubiquitous as well. We're kind of everywhere. And like I say, whenever I go to shows in Philly and hand in my car, oh yeah, I work with Adam over there. I got 2 cars. You sold 2 cars for me, or yeah. So it's
like,
really
well, you're dead to me now because it's Adams or Joe's or Bill's or whoever else.
See you later.
See you later. I don't have time for you.
Moving along.
Move along.
Yeah.
Nothing to see here, folks.
It's great. And once again, Greenwich, if you're in the Philadelphia area, is 2 hours away. It's great.
And
you can do it in a day trip.
And if you're in Greenwich and thinking about consigning your car to a place, we're way closer than you realize.
That's right.
It's not. There's no wall between here and Greenwich. You know,
That's
it's not like there's some kind of magical barrier that keeps you from coming and bringing your car here. No, it's a very reasonable trip and cost effective if you have a transporter to bring your car down here. We can help make arrangements with that. Just about anything we can help with. Just give us a call.
Absolutely.
And we'll let you know what the process is and how it works and all of that good stuff. Because, there's a lot of people up in that part of the world probably that don't want to take the time to sell their own car, and you can't blame them. You know, who wants to answer the phone 24 hours a day and have somebody show up on Saturday night?
I think that's true across the country. So
right, it's not just there.
Depending on how you want to get your car here, we can consign it for you and take that headache out of your life.
Yeah. So don't forget us, classicautomall.com, or if you want to call us, 888-227-0914, and that's our toll-free number.
It is.
Of course, I mean, with unlimited cell phones, does that even mean anything?
It doesn't,
anymore?
not anymore, no.
I guess if you have a landline, does it? I don't even know how that works anymore. Do you have like long distance? I remember my parents would get the phone bill, and I was dating some girl that lived in Florida. Oh, they were so mad. Look at this phone bill, $300.
An hour and a half on one call. What's wrong with you?
What's the matter with you?
Remember those days?
I do remember those days.
I don't know.
Paid by the minute.
I don't get a phone bill, so I don't know. I mean, we have a landline, but it's just kind of rolled into the whole Verizon thing, so I'm not sure.
Well, the only reason we have a landline is so my wife can find her cell phone.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
If I'm not home,
she can call her.
She can call her phone and find her.
That's the only reason we have it as well.
Because God forbid that she would misplace her phone, and then some emergency happens, and you can't. I mean, it's not hard to misplace your phone. You can make fun of people misplacing their phones, but how many of us have been standing in our closet and stuck it up on the shelf and then forgot where it was, and was like, oh no, what did I do with that?
Well, I lost my phone. I lost my phone in Morgantown. 2 weeks ago, and running around Lowe's, and I was only here in Lowe's.
Well, getting in and out of all these cars, though, is the other problem, because if it slips out of your pocket,
that's right,
and it's a black phone in a black interior car, you're in deep doo-doo.
It was under my seat. But
I can tell you that I've had guys that work for us here that drive 45 minutes each way to work, that get all the way here and realize they left their cell phone at home and have to go back and get it.
Yep,
they just can't. They can't do without it.
It's our business phone.
It is our business phone. It's the way that you're going to still get calls even when you're not sitting, strapped to your desk.
Sure.
So you got to have that cell phone, and plus, just everything is on there. When I'm supposed to take my pills, and so
everything is on.
Everything is on there. So unfortunately, yeah. What have we done? So I was doing a little research of our inventory, and I came across something very funny.
What?
We have in stock at this moment 47 Corvettes, 48 Mustangs, and 49 Camaros.
Wow.
So, how is that?
That's pretty wild. That's 150 cars.
That's
about 150 cars.
Pony cars, if you will.
Yeah.
250 Chevrolets in the whole building, 208 Fords, and 52 Pontiacs.
Oh, you didn't do Oldsmobile. The most popular car in Classic Auto Mall.
On TalkTick.
That's right. Number one.
And you know what's interesting about TikTok? A lot of people think it's just young kids, but the demographic that is watching the 700,000 views that we have in this Oldsmobile are 45 and older.
That's it.
About 60% of them are that, or maybe not quite 60.
What was it? Yeah, it was close to 60%.
Close to 60% of the people.
45 and older.
And older.
Yeah.
That blew my mind. I couldn't believe that. I would have thought that it was all being,
And we had more than 20% women this time for this particular one. So they comment and say, well, my grandmother had one, I had one.
Right.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, it's like, when you have so many people on Facebook or TikTok or Instagram or even YouTube, not everybody really subscribes to stuff. They see your stuff. Like on YouTube, I know that I watch a lot of music type videos and stuff, and I don't subscribe to anything.
Right.
And I should, because it's how you get recognized for having a successful YouTube channel and also to monetize it as well. Too.
Right.
And you said we could have made 8 cents off the TikTok?
No, this TikTok,
$8.
we left about $30 on the table.
30?
Yeah.
Oh,
but it's rare. Like I said, the last time we had a hit this big was 2 years ago with the '79 Oldsmobile that had 2,600 miles on it. That has 1.2 million views currently and growing, because every time somebody comes to our channel, it's pinned, and so they can rewatch that. But a little bit of money.
Yeah, $30 is not nothing. That would buy. Well, I don't see anything in this room that it would buy except my can of Coke.
That's it.
Or maybe the.
Well, it adds up.
No, it's like good volume, right? So I've come to the realization. Wow.
Big news. I see it.
I'm going to sell my Harley.
Wow.
I know. I've always wanted it.
Barely driven. So
what's the next notch below a full tank of gas? Like. 9 tenths.
Right. 9 tenths. Yeah.
Or 19/20ths.
Yeah.
So in 2 years I've owned that bike, I haven't gone below the next notch from full. It's never left the parking lot.
Wow.
It's got 380 miles on it, but it had 371 when I bought it. Wow. So I put 9 miles on it in 2 years.
So you've reevaluated your return on investment.
Well, and then I realized what I was paying in insurance a year for it to just sit.
Yes.
And so I'm like, and then every time I talk about motorcycles, somebody says, yeah, my brother just got beat, broke his leg, so it's like,
right.
So
will that be on, selling a T3?
Yeah, and it's a beautiful bike.
It is
a 2020 Harley Davidson FLDE Softail Deluxe, white with gray accents. This, if you want the right bike, it's low slung, it's beautiful, it's got the wide white tires, it's got the 107 engine in it. It's a last year for the deluxe model. These will be collectible. But it's that nice low center of gravity that I really liked about the bike. And so I'm going to let it go, much to the pleasure of my wife and my business partner, who both, are just thrilled that I'm selling this thing. So I can talk myself out of it, so you never know.
Right.
We'll catch you next time on the Classic Auto Mall Show. See you then.
You've been listening to the Classic Auto Mall Show with your host, Stuart Howden. Executive producer, Steve Safier. Produced and engineered by yours truly, J.R. Russ. Available on ClassicAutomall.com, YouTube, or wherever you get your podcasts. Music courtesy of the Pat Travers Band. For tour dates, contact, and stuff, visit PatTravers.com. Produced by Car Smarts Media. Copyright all rights reserved.